Never could I have imagined that such actions could be committed by human beings. Never could I have imagined that such human beings could exist.
Nathan Bedford Forrest, born July 13th, 1821, near Chapel Hill, Tennessee. Died October 29th, 1877, Memphis, Tennessee. Confederate cavalry commander in the American Civil War, and one of, if not the wealthiest enslaver in the Confederacy. He also served as the first Grand Wizard of the Ku Klux Klan in the early years of Reconstruction.
According to the Anti-Defamation League, the Ku Klux Klan, known as the KKK, is an American white supremacist movement that dates in its original form back to 1865. The first Ku Klux Klan active during the Reconstruction era engaged in widespread terrorist and hate crime activities in its opposition to Reconstruction state governments. Decades later, in the early 20th century, the Klan was revived as a nativist, anti-Semitic, and anti-Catholic organization with many elements borrowed from fraternal organizations. The Second Klan grew to millions by the early 1920s and was very influential, but in fighting and scandals caused a decline in the 1930s, and it fell apart by the 40s. After World War II, the Ku Klux Klan was revived once more, though as a number of independent Klan groups rather than a single group, in opposition to the civil rights movement and desegregation efforts. Its failure to stop integration combined with the rise of other types of white supremacist groups that acted as competition began a long, slow decline of Ku Klux Klan groups that has lasted from the 1970s through the 2020s. In the 2020s, there aren't many Klan groups, and the ones that do exist are quite small and often short-lived. The fall of the Klan. The long-term decline of Ku Klux Klan groups is due to several factors, including increasing societal rejection of what the Klan stands for, a growing perception by white supremacists that Klan groups are outdated, in competition with other white supremacist movements, from racist skinheads to white supremacist prison gangs, over the small pool of potential recruits. In recent years, one of the clearest signs of the declining state of Ku Klux Klan groups has been in their complete inability to maintain anything resembling stability. Despite their diminishing numbers, there are still approximately 3,000 Klan members nationwide, as well as additional but unknown numbers of associates and supporters. Between the years of 1882 and 1968, there were about 4,700 documented lynchings, 3,400 which were African American men, women, and children in southern states like Mississippi, Georgia, Texas, and Louisiana. These states recorded the highest incidence of lynching. Pictures of bodies that were suspended from bridges were proudly distributed as postcards. Unborn babies were still alive days after inside a lynched woman's corpse. Newspapers printed when and where these lynches would take place as though it was a show. Sections of victims' bodies were removed with corkscrews and their fingers were cut off. The body parts were passed around the crowd. Pregnant women bodies were slit open, causing their fetus to fall to the ground. The babies were stomped to death. Klan lynchings and the victims. The lynching of Michael Donald in Mobile, Alabama on March 21, 1981 was one of the last reported lynchings in the United States. Several Ku Klux Klan members beat and killed Michael Donald, a 19-year-old African American, and hung his body from a tree. His mother brought a civil suit for wrongful death against the United Klans of America, to which the attackers belonged. In 1987, a jury awarded her damages of $7 million, which bankrupted the organization. Jesse Washington was a 17-year-old African-American farmhand who was lynched in the county seat of Waco, Texas, on May 15, 1916, in what became a well-known example of racist lynching. Washington was convicted of raping and murdering Lucy Fryer, the wife of his white employer in Royal Robinson, Texas. He was chained by his neck and dragged out of the county court by observers. He was then paraded through the street, all while being stabbed and beaten before being held down and castrated. He was then lynched in front of Waco City Hall. Justice. President Harry Truman, in cooperation with the FBI, launched an investigation into the lynchings. However, no one was ever prosecuted for the brutal murders.
We as Aborigines of America, as known as Black people or African Americans, have been emancipated for 160 years, and yet we still have received no reparations. Our state as a people has remained in perpetual crisis, and we are still used to this day for the enrichment of our oppressors. In November 1861, the first Confederate battle flags were issued. The most common design, known as the Southern Cross, featured a blue saltire trimmed with white with 13 white stars, representing the 11 states of the Confederacy plus Missouri and Kentucky. Today, the Confederate flag is disappearing from the United States of America as it has been banned in many public places. It is a symbol of pro-racism and pro-slavery. The Ku Klux Klan robes. The hood and robes of Ku Klux Klan members are the most visible Klan symbol, so much that a hooded and robed Klansman is a popular type of tattoo among white supremacists, including non-Klan members and non-Americans. The meanings of colors or stripes on the robes tend to vary from Klan group to Klan group.